All right, continuing with section 2.2, we have now just a little bit of vocabulary. So coalitions are a set of players that might join forces to vote the same way. So if we take an example of a weighted voting system that has 3 players, what we need to do is we need to figure out how many sets of players might get together to vote the same way. So if we consider the initial example, which was the quota was 101, player 1 had 99 votes, player 2 had 98 votes, and player 3 had 3 votes, we want to figure out how many ways can these 3 players get together. Well, player 1 could be the only one to vote yes. That's one set. Player 2 can be the only one to vote yes, and player 3 could be the only one to vote yes. Okay, so those are 3 coalitions. We can also have player 1 and player 2 get together. We can have player 1 and player 3 get together. We can have player 2 and player 3 get together. Okay, and we can also have all 3, player 1, player 2, and player 3, all get together. This last one we call the Grand Coalition. It's the Grand Coalition because all of the players get together. Now we want to look at winning coalitions, and winning coalitions are coalitions that have enough votes to pass a motion, and if they have enough votes, we call them winners. If they don't have enough votes, we call those losers. So looking at these examples, the only ones that are winners are player 1, player 2, player 1, player 3, player 2, player 3, and players 1, 2, and 3. Those are all winning coalitions. These coalitions are losing coalitions because they don't have enough to pass. Moving on, the critical players. Here's what critical players mean. In a winning coalition, a player is said to be a critical player if the coalition must have that player's votes to win. So realistically, when we look at critical players, we only consider critical players in winning coalitions. And the reason for that is we're looking for players who have enough weight so that if they left the coalition, that coalition would turn from a winning coalition to a losing coalition. So if we look at the top again, if we look for the critical players, notice that if player 1 leaves this first coalition, this coalition no longer has enough votes to pass. So player 1 would be critical in this coalition. So that's one coalition in which player 1 is critical. Player 1 is also critical in this second coalition, so they are critical 2 times. How about this third coalition? Well, if player 1 chooses to change his vote, player 2 and player 3 together still have enough to meet the quota of 101, so player 1 is not critical in that example. Let's look at player 2. So player 2 is critical in this coalition, they are critical in this coalition, and that's it. So player 2 is critical twice. Now we can finally look at player 3. How many times is player 3 critical? Well, player 3 is critical here, they are critical here, and that's it. So notice each of the players are critical 2 times in all of the winning coalitions for this weighted voting system. Now, in addition to that, we do have this formula to help us with critical players. So critical players are critical if the total weight of the coalition minus the little w is the weight of, let's do it this way. This is the coalition weight. This is the individual player weight. And if the difference between those two is less than the quota, then that player is critical. So we can also use this formula in bigger, when we have larger weighted voting systems. Using this formula will be beneficial.